Here, too, the record speaks for itself.
One of the great memories of all time, James Webb. I don't remember the names. Don't remember the name. Viktor Orban. Did anyone ever hear of him? He's the leader of Turkey. By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley is in charge of security. 3 years later, how about that?
Did you actually have a one-on-one with Comey?
Not much, not even that I remember. I like mosquitoes. We have languages coming into our country. We have nobody that even speaks those languages. They're truly foreign languages. Nobody speaks them. Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat you. Oh.
I have a really good memory. Your next wife was a woman by the name of Marla Maples.
That's right.
Do you recall what years you were married to Ms. Maples?
It's called like Up Here, and it's called Memory, and it's called other things.
So you don't remember saying you have one of the best memories?
I don't remember that. And Putin, has so little respect for Obama that he's starting to throw around the nuclear word. You heard that, nuclear. We have to win in November, or we're not going to have Pennsylvania. They'll change the name. I talked to Putin a lot.
How much did you ask him that? I don't remember that. I saw that this morning. I don't remember asking him that
I
question.
have a good memory and all that stuff, like a great memory. For 20 years, they were fighting ISIS. I defeated ISIS in 4 weeks. And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won. I'm not cognitively. And you know what? When I am, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to be the first people. I know my people. You'll say, all right, Trump, you did a good job. Get the hell out of here. That's it.
Obama. The funniest thing about that is the Pennsylvania will not be called Pennsylvania again if he loses, he says. What does that even mean? Welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. And so yesterday, they released the transcripts from the special counsel's interview with President Biden, and he appeared before Congress, and things are just not always as they have appeared, because it seems like the president was totally mischaracterized in that report. But on the other hand, it seems like the special counsel was mischaracterized as well in comments. Bottom line, the one thing, and if you read the transcripts and sort of envision the conversation between the president and the special counsel, you could understand. At least I felt like I could understand when that them saying that he didn't remember his son's death was totally a mischaracterization of facts. He simply was talking, responding, and said, when responding to a question about a day, he says, when, and it wasn't about his son, but he says, when did my son die? As if to say, it's around the time my son died. And somebody in the background said 2015. And he says, yeah, 2015. It wasn't like he was saying, oh gosh, when was it that my son died? I just don't know him. That did not happen. That's what came across a couple of months ago when that brutal report came out. So it was just a total mischaracterization. The only outlet, and I was checking intentionally for this with the different outlets, the only outlet that got it wrong yesterday and in reporting this was the New York Times. The New York Times said that the transcripts supported what the special counsel said. It did not. Everyone else said it debunked it. Why the New York Times in their narrative continues what is going on with the old gray lady? we in trouble. Well, this morning, a big women's college basketball brawl between LSU and South Carolina has led to the suspension of several players, but the real conversation surrounds the post-game comments of the two coaches, and we're going to have the one and only to the break of dawn, Miss Dawn Montgomery, come on to discuss that. NBA icon Steph Curry says he may run for the presidency in the future. And also, even some Republicans are tired of the MAGA shenanigans. Representative Ken Buck of Colorado has announced he's leaving Congress, not at the end of the year, not at the end of the month, but next week. He's citing, among other reasons, the election denials from his caucus and other MAGA-related issues. Interesting. And a union representing New York City firefighters is raising concerns about possible disciplinary action against its members after State Attorney General Letitia James was booed and a pro-Donald Trump chant broke out during a fire department ceremony. If you know the history of the New York City Fire Department, we recently talked about that. You understand this. And on the bright side, some really, really encouraging, uplifting news this morning, if you will. The college security guard got the surprise of a lifetime when students raised money through GoFundMe to send him home to visit his family in Nigeria. We got to talk about that this morning as well. First of all, I'd like to say Darryl Strawberry, one of my all-time favorite New York Mets and all-time favorite baseball players, who actually won a World Series championship not only with the Mets, but he won with the New York Yankees as well. Recovering from a heart attack. The heart attack actually happened just the night before Darryl was to celebrate his 62nd birthday, but he is doing better, and Darryl is seems to be in pretty good spirits. The New York Mets are going to retire Darryl Strawberry's number this coming June at Citi Field in Queens in a ceremony. Also, Doc Gooden's number will be retired as well. Two icons from the 1986 World Series champions. But it's great to see that Darryl is doing better. With all the struggles that he's had, he's really changed his life around as far as the substances are concerned. And what a talent. I had the privilege of watching Darryl up close and personal for a few years when he first broke into the league. And I was a teenager. I worked at Shea Stadium where the Mets played their home games. And so I was pretty much from 1984 to 1988 or wherever, 89. I was at Shea Stadium for just about every single home game, working, directing traffic and buses in the parking lot. Then we'd go in after all the cars had parked. I said that like a Bostonian, parked. And get to sit there and watch that great 1980s Mets team play day in and day out, and got to meet Darryl and hang out with Darryl a bit. Last time I saw Darryl in person, believe it or not, of all places, was Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch back in 2003. He and I were there for a welcome home party for Michael Jackson after Michael was arrested. Um, and Darryl and I sat in the kitchen at Neverland and talked for probably about 2 hours about the 1980s and some shenanigans. Um, Darryl was, and he wouldn't mind me sharing this story, but I remember one game, circa 1986, 1987. Darryl was seventh inning of the game. Darryl came out of the stadium, and me and a guy named Andre was out there because toward the end of the game, we also had to see the cars and stuff out of the stadium. Darryl comes out of the C gate, and he's wearing a sweatsuit over his Mets uniform, and like, Darryl, what are you doing here? It's seventh inning. I'm looking for something. I'm looking for something. You can only guess what Darryl was looking for in 1986 outside the Shea Stadium, in 1986 outside of Shea Stadium in the seventh inning of a game. Like, what in the world is going on here? but we definitely wish Daryl, as Power 96 says, a speedy recovery. What a talent. And another example of why of how substance abuse took away what would have he may have very well become the greatest player in the history of the game had he not indulged so frequently in substances. Like Doc Gooden, perhaps. I mean, they were when Daryl came up, they was comparing him to Ted Williams, and when Doc came up, of course, the automatic comparison was to Bob Gibson, but the talent that those two had was extremely awe-inspiring. And it's good again, it's good to see him recovering though. Good for Daryl, and hopefully we will we had Daryl on the show a couple of years ago, and maybe we'll have him on again. Hopefully he'll stay well enough to have on again. We'll give him a call. So I went to the Garden, I mentioned to you guys on Sunday, and the Knicks were playing the Sixers, and it was probably the worst NBA game in a very long time. It was worse than watching like the Detroit Pistons play like the Houston Rockets. I mean, the Sixers won that game, but it wasn't about who won or who lost. It was how bad both teams played. It was like a race to the bottom. Well, I mentioned that to say this. Last night, the Knicks and Sixers played again at Madison Square Garden. And in that first game, the Sixers were missing, their two stars, Maxey and Embiid, and the Knicks were missing three of their stars. Anunoby was missing from that game, Julius Randle, and of course, Mitch Robinson. Well, last night, Maxey came back for the Sixers and Anunoby came back for the Knicks. And the Knicks absolutely destroyed the Sixers. And a very low scoring game Sunday. I think it was 79-73 was the final on Sunday. Last night, the Knicks absolutely annihilated the Sixers. The Knicks actually held the Sixers to 70. I think they held them to like 76 points or something like that. 76ers held 76 points, 79 points actually. It was 106-79. So it was pretty much a 30-point blowout. And they led by 20 or more points for most of the game. And so what a difference. What a difference. So Power 96, I'm hoping that you understand the Knicks are back. They are back. Look, that's my man, Anunoby. Right there. Oh, he's admitting. Power 96 is admitting that the Knicks look like a decent team. He says they will lose in the first round of the playoffs, though. I don't know. They're going to get healthy. If they get healthy, nobody wants to see them. Let them get healthy. All right? So go New York. Go New York. Go New York. Go is what the saying goes. We are again. We're gonna have as Power 96 affectionately calls her, the Red Bone, will be joining us shortly to talk about a couple of sports related issues. But in the meantime, we have some news. Ken Buck, the Republican out of Colorado, who is a hardline conservative, but has clashed with his own party at times, said Tuesday that he will leave Congress before the end of his term. In fact, he says, today I'm announcing that I will depart Congress at the end of next week. He says, I'm out. Buck said in a statement that he posted on Twitter, known as X. And this is interesting because his departure from the House now shakes up the chamber's partisan breakdown, where Republicans control only a very, very slim majority, which represents a major challenge for MAGA Mike, who has frequently been forced to rely on votes from Democrats as well as Republicans to get major pieces of legislation across the finish line. But Buck's decision to walk away now is a 218 seat to 213 seat advantage for Republicans. 3 seats, though, are vacant. And so with that breakdown, Republicans could only afford to lose just 2 votes to pass legislation on a party line vote. Buck said last year that he would not seek re-election. He told them, he said, so much stagnation in Congress. He was the MAGA, the Republican guy. He's not necessarily that, obviously he's not staunch MAGA, but he was the one who said, how do I go back to my constituents when we are doing nothing here? We have gotten nothing done. We're not trying to get anything done. How do I go back to my constituents and ask them to vote for me? And I thought, that's really interesting coming from a congressman. He's a former prosecutor as well. He was first elected in 2014, but he also had some serious issues and maintained those serious issues with the former president not admitting what was obvious, and that he lost the election to Joe Biden. And so Buck had some real issues with that. So it's going to be interesting. The House of Representatives haven't gotten anything done since the MAGA folks took the majority, and that was to be expected. This impeachment inquiry just really left egg on their faces. So they had nothing to accomplish. So, I don't know how many got to see the ugly brawl between LSU and South Carolina, which led to the suspensions of several players. Several players are going to miss the first round of the tournament, of the NCAA tournament. But that wasn't really what bothered those people who cover sports, those people who know sports. And one of those people who knows sports very well, and he can talk it extremely well, among so many other things, is the one and only. It's to the break of dawn. It's Dawn Montgomery. She joins us now from the South. What's going on, Dawn?
Good morning. Hi, how are you? I'm good. I'm good.
Had a
I'm
good
good.
night?
Huh?
You had a good night's sleep?
Not really, but
Not
thank you
really.
for asking.
I care about your sleep.
Look, does my hair reflect that?
I'm just saying, I have a vested
No.
interest in your sleep.
I appreciate that. And
I'm glad you
clearly someone's telling me good morning. And if he's dreaming, wake up, whatever. Anyway.
That's
He's
Power
Christopher Williams
96, the
now.
one and only. He couldn't wait. He was actually marinating some crawfish and everything, getting ready for you.
I'm so done.
Dawn, what in the
Mhm.
world? Kim Mulkey continues to. There's no bottom for this woman, is there? Come on.
There isn't, and she what's the saying that Michelle Obama said, when they go low we go high, or whatever. I just want somebody one time to stay low with her, because I'm sick of her. I think that what she continues to do is just really flex her privilege. This is someone who, of course, she has national championships under her belt. Of course, she's a winning coach. Of course, she's one of those top coaches that most of these recruits want to go play for. But what I want the recruits and their parents to start looking at is the character of some of these coaches. Yes, you may want to win. Yes, you want exposure. Yes, you want to play in the SEC. Yes, it's your dream to be on television and all of things. But when you have coaches like this that continue to show you who they are at every single turn that they have, this is someone who also didn't back up her former player from Baylor, who was locked up overseas, and she felt some type of way, and ignoring that entire thing by saying, some negative comments about Brittany Griner. And to me, it's then she should have been canceled. If she made those comments, people should have been okay, we see her.
Well, let's listen to what both coaches, what is class and what is trash. Let's take let's take a listen to both coaches after this ugly brawl. Let's take a listen. Okay, we don't have volume yet.
No one wants to be a part of that. No one wants to see that ugliness. But I can tell you this. I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese. Don't push a kid. You 6'8". Don't push somebody that little. That was uncalled for, in my opinion.
I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese.
So when she said that, like a few things ran across my mind. Why would you automatically continue to instigate the situation, right? Why would you add more fuel to the fire? Let's start there. That's number one. Number two, why would you single-handedly point out your star player? I know size-wise, that's what she was trying to imply, but Angel Reese has a lot on the line if she puts herself in that type of situation. So the fact that you volunteered her by saying, I wish she had hit Angel Reese, girl, bye. And then another thing is also in the presser where Angel Reese speaks, towards the situation, and her attitude towards it was as if, they should have messed with me. Yeah, they should have came to me. But the biggest thing that she said, that Angel Reese said in there that was very concerning to me, was how she continued to say, we're not scared of South Carolina. We're not scared. Right. Clearly you all were, because that entire game, they were taunting them. They were pulling hair. They were pushing. Alicia was very aggressive. And finally, towards the end of the game, you know what I'm saying? Those girls were fed up. And even in that situation, honestly, it shouldn't have even gotten to that point, because the way that it went off, the young lady who was excited from South Carolina, she was just shouting after the foul was called and all of the things, and she was already walking away from the situation. So there shouldn't have been a situation. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But again, when you have a coach that leads like that, when you have a coach that's willing to say, yeah, we gonna nuck if we buck, ma'am, you stay over there with your glitter and stay out of this. Because this is not a part of your job to do. You don't do that as a coach.
Right. Now, her saying, I just want to go back again, because her saying, throwing Angel Reese in there. Now, some people really took offense to that, because it's almost like, here's the stereotype again, because they've always, the one thing I like about Angel Reese, really like about her, is how she's been able to rise above the fray constantly, right? But they continue to insinuate this stereotype here about, this tough Black woman.
And it's annoying, because the thing about it is it's one thing to be competitive. It's another thing to continue a stereotype and say that, these girls are thugs, or they're like, horrible people because they're responding to let me tell you something. You keep bumping me, it ain't gonna take but maybe 1 or 2 times for you to bump me in the paint. And I'm throwing hands, okay? I have no self-control. I'm gonna tell you that now. So, and this is coming from somebody who was there at the semifinal game when South Carolina was playing Tennessee, and there were 2 times I was ready to jump on the court, because I was like, if Rocky Top does something to South Carolina one more time,
how about homegirl's brother?
Listen, and don't even get me started on that, because again, we continue to tell people, especially on social media, we're gonna need men to stay in men's business, and we're gonna need y'all to stay out of our business. And in this situation, he took it too far. The fact that they actually had to press charges against him because he stepped on a SEC employee's hands and did something to her shoulders to get over her, to get over the table. That's too much. And let me tell you, from somebody who was there physically at the tournament and could see the distance from fans to the actual table to get over, he did a whole lot. He did a whole lot to make sure that he could get on that court and then do nothing. Because if I'm gonna get arrested, I'm throwing hands at minimum. But then too, this also goes towards like how our young people handle chaotic situations like this. Why is it that everybody's got to jump up? Why is it that everybody's got to respond versus pulling people? You know what I'm saying? Like, where's the conflict resolution in the moment?
What was the brother gonna do? Was he gonna fight a woman?
Baby, he wasn't gonna do nothing against that Brazilian Amazon that he ran up on. Because let me tell you something. when he stood up against her, like it was a rap. Like, look at him. He was a miniature person to her. Like, sir, if you don't get somewhere and sit down. So yeah, the police did the right thing by arresting him. I did not. I will make a note of this. I did not like how some South Carolina fans were like, there was a South Carolina fan who was specifically like messaging someone about the situation, and she was calling his brother a thug. She was like saying all kinds of things, but you could see her text messages. Like, let me tell you something. I need these recruits and I need these players to understand these folks don't give a damn about you for real. Okay, they gonna root for you because you play for their schools. They're gonna support you because you play for their teams. But outside of that, let some stuff like this go on. You are a hard N-word to them. Okay, you are a thug to them. You are an angry Black woman to them when you start doing things like that. And it's frustrating because our young people don't have an opportunity to make mistakes. They don't have an opportunity to lash out like this and then say, you know what, my bad, I'm wrong. Here's why when South Carolina took the high road, baby, that's how you deal with a situation like that. Because go ahead.
Let's contrast Kim Mulkey with Dawn Staley. I think we have that queued up as well. Let's take a listen to Dawn Staley.
Plays on both sides of the basketball. I just want to apologize to the basketball community. When you're playing in championship games like this, in our league, things get heated. No bad intentions. They just try, their emotions got so far ahead of them that sometimes these things happen. So I want to apologize for us playing a part in that, because that's not who we are and that's not what we're about. But I'm happy for the players that were able to finish the game and get us another championship. We're going to talk about it. We've always talked about it. Never leave the bench. Never get too high with the highs or low with the lows. It's hard when you're playing. I played this game a long time, and I can't tell you I was a saint at all times. Okay? Your emotions get the best of you. It's unfortunate that the players that got ejected can't be a part of the celebration.
And the thing about it, so there's a reason why Dawn Staley's record is the way it is, right?
Come on. That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
I mean, she I understand her record is something like 100 wins and 3 losses in the last 3 or 4 years or something like that. But the class that she showed right there, and not just the class, Dawn, but she also showed she showed leadership.
Yes. She showed leadership. She showed class. She showed grace, because in that moment she was speaking. She wasn't just speaking for her team. She was speaking for both sides. Yeah. Like where Kim Mulkey failed to do in the press conference after the game, Dawn had already done before she got off of the court. Like, come on, somebody.
Great point,
like the fact.
She had time to think about it.
She had time to think about what she was going to say. She had time to actually know that, okay, Dawn gave an interview. And let me tell you something. This is the way these social media teams work. Those people knew what Dawn had already had to say. So somebody could have told her, you know what, Dawn made this comment over here. You might want to go this route too as well. So they're cool with the fact that this woman continues to put on this face and be a bad representation of what it means to be leadership amongst these young Black women. And then let's talk about Dawn Staley as a player, okay? Dawn Staley was one of the most aggressive point guards on the court. You know what I'm saying? She came with fire in her every single game. So she knows exactly what she's talking about when it comes down to getting heated, emotions getting high, and people reacting the way that they are doing. But the biggest thing that sold me on her in that interview that she made on the court in that moment was how she literally sold herself as a coach and as a leader, and as somebody that if there was an LSU recruit that was thinking about going to LSU and you feel some type of way right now, come on over here to South Carolina. Like, come on over here to Denver. Because literally she's going to look out for you. She's going to call you out when you're wrong. She's going to be able to put you in position to stand up and really kind of take ownership for the things that you've done. One of her main players, Camilla, she made an apology immediately after the game. Immediately after that, she put it in writing. It was on Twitter, and it's amazing because you can tell that wasn't a forced apology. You can tell that was coming from a great place. You can tell that was coming from, oh my God, I'm realizing what I did, and so it's frustrating because certain people were suspended. Not everyone was suspended. But I think that it's very, very frustrating to just kind of watch this dynamic play out in women's basketball, and people not really see the difference between how the two coaches are being treated. Because throughout the entire season, South Carolina was being, dubbed as this, difficult team or thugs or bad group of players and all of that, just because Dawn is capable of receiving recruits or players that most people may not go after, which I think is a beautiful thing too, because this woman not only is coaching her team, but she's also making it her mission to put, HBCUs on the map. The way she chooses to play some of those teams, the way she chooses to represent and talk about those teams and what they're doing. So I just think it's just one of those things where I feel like if anyone wants to be a coach and you want to know how you are supposed to do things, I need you to study what Dawn Staley has been doing for the past 3 to 4 years, because she is it.
He mentions, Power 96 mentions that she's won the 8 out of the last 10 SEC basketball championships. She's phenomenal, and like the real impressive thing, and you've articulated it extremely well, is that her statements came in the heat of the moment. Dawn, what's her name, Kim Mulkey, had plenty of time. They went in the locker room, they got it together or tried to get it together, whatever. They had all that time, and then, as you highlighted, Dawn, they knew what Dawn Staley had said. So she had every opportunity to go in there and be a professional. And of course, she passed it up.
She
Passed
sure
up the
did.
opportunity to be professional.
She decided to be herself. Because if we're going to be honest, this woman is going to continue to do these things. And I just think that it's, as much as I want to pose this question, and I posed it on Twitter and people tried to mansplain me why recruits are still going to LSU to play for Kim Mulkey, my question still remains, why do these young people continue to decide to play for this woman when she continues to show you that she don't care nothing about you besides winning? Okay, she cares about you coming and being a part of the team to do the things that she wants. And to me, that's more frustrating, because what about life beyond the basketball court? What about life that you learn on the basketball court? If you can't come to me as a coach, to me as a player, and connect with me in that way, then baby, I can't play for you. That's not my place. Because beyond all of this, look at how successful Dawn's players have become. Okay, beyond all of this, like once they go into the league, these are people, household names. These are people who continue to be successful and find their way into the league. So as far as I'm concerned, like, there should be no question about, oh, they're going to Kim because they want to go into the league. No, people are going to Dawn too because they want to go into the league. But at the same time, she's making sure that these women are being developed in a way that they're more prepared for life. And Kim Mulkey is setting us back, period.
Yeah. 96 mentions a time when the SC women celebrating, and one of the ladies were throwing up a sign, and Dawn corrected the young lady on the spot. He says it was a great on-the-spot correction.
I think that might have been last year. Was that last year or something like that? One of the girls was throwing up a sign, and it looked very questionable. Okay, and Dawn immediately got in front because they were taking a group photo, and she immediately got her. she went to the front and she got her to put. She was like, "No, I'll put that down," and she got right back in line to take the picture. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one of those things where, from a culture standpoint, as a Black woman to Black players, you know what they're doing. You might not understand the sign or the set that they throwing up, you know what I'm saying? But you also know you don't need that in your picture. You don't need that to be representative of your university, whether it was something that was very, not too harmful, because I think the thing that most of the fans realized was that the sign she was throwing up wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't a gang sign, wasn't anything that could have been harmful to the image or the picture that they were taking. But to me, it's one of those things where, as a coach, like, she's always on go. Like, she's always like paying attention. She's always like looking at things. Like that's that point guard in her because she
Well,
sees everything.
as Greer said, they respect her.
Yes, and that's huge. That's so huge. So huge.
It
So
is.
yeah.
Well, Dawn, how about this? Steph Curry, he's a lot of things. He's a future Hall of Famer, first ballot, no question. The greatest shooter in NBA history and an international icon. Now his future might be in politics. He says that he is considering politics, including and not limited to the presidency. He joined an appearance on CBS Mornings while promoting his second children's book, I Am Extraordinary, which is aimed at inspiring kids to embrace their uniqueness. Steph was asked if he'd ever consider a career in politics, specifically running for president. He says, I have an interest in leveraging every part of my influence for good in the way that I can. So if that's the way to do it, then I'm not going to say the presidency, but if politics is a way that you can create meaningful change, or if there's another way outside of politics. Steph Curry, President Curry, can you see that?
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. No, but I will say he gave. I will say he gave a very senator, House representative type of reply to that question. Like he went for it, but he went back around it just in case,
Right,
just to make
right.
sure that people understood that that's not really his actual intentions. So I can see Senator Curry, I can see House of Representative Curry, like Mr. Representative Curry, like I can see something like that. But what's most important that we're seeing,
Mayor
we're
Curry.
starting to see Mayor Curry, like come on, because we've seen NBA players become mayors of cities.
Kevin
Like
Johnson
who's
comes to
that?
mind.
Kevin Johnson, yes, like. It wasn't in Sacramento. Come on now.
Sacramento,
Like,
right. Uh-oh.
yes. So, yeah. Come on, Sacramento observers. Shouts out, y'all. But the thing is I can see him doing something like that just because of the type of player that he is and the type of career that he has had. I mean, in comparison to Kevin Johnson, the same thing. Like, I also want to just point out in general that there's this overall arching thing that I've noticed, and I want to bring light to that, is that a lot of these former athletes and or current athletes are now starting to transition into a political realm, a political career. And the thing is we have like people like Arnold Schwarzenegger that has done it, like from actor to governor. Like he was governor. Like we have all of these people. And then, I mean, if we're going to be honest, we had J.C. Watts, who played for Oklahoma in college football and ended up becoming, who he was in Oklahoma. So to me, it's like there's this opportunity for these players to do these things. But my thing is being mindful of the intention that they have behind that. Because you also have people like Aaron Rodgers, who is trash, who is sitting up here, quite possibly going to be someone's like, number two. Right. And the thing is you could really actually tell he was on some type of political agenda during the NFL season with some of the things that he was saying. So don't do that and then say, I'm throwing my hat in there. No, I'm gonna need you to keep your hat and stay at home, because like this is a moment where it's like for certain ones of these athletes, I'm gonna need you to stick to sports. I'm gonna need you to start a broadcasting career when you're done. I don't need you over here in politics. I would love you to stick to community service. I would love you to stay active in some of the cities that you played in or wherever you retired. But coming into politics and not really, really understanding the type of damage that you can add to this already chaotic environment, we don't need that, because currently there's a senator in Alabama who's a former head coach of college football, Tommy Tuberville, who is, I wish I could say the word, but he is effing up a lot of stuff that is happening in the state of Alabama. And quiet as his cat, Nick Saban is very much well on that same political path with some of the things that he's testifying in regards to NIL with the NC2A. So as far as I'm concerned, we have to start having these conversations about what this looks like for professional athletes, that professional athlete to politician pipeline, because there's a thing. We see it. There's a trend. It's happening. So if he does want to do it, by all means, go for it. But president, not so much. Not so much.
Well, throughout his great career, Steph has made a point to be involved in his community. He uses his platform to get back and speak on issues that are important to him And while he what they've done, he and his wife in the Bay Area, is nothing short of, one of the greatest philanthropic lines, philanthropic efforts, I should say, that you'll
Mhm.
see in any athlete.
Like
So
I feel like if he was to start doing something and he wants people to take him seriously, because a lot of professional athletes who have become politicians, they've just done it because of their popularity. I mean, we can, for instance, Herschel Walker. You know what I'm saying?
oh
Like,
gosh,
you just did it just because people recognize you. You just did it because
there's
you were
Herschel
used as a
Walker.
pawn. Right? Exactly. But I would love to really see Steph Curry, if this is seriously something that he wants to do. I would love to see him start doing some work around Oakland. If he starts doing some things around Oakland and he starts trying to
He's
be a
done
part of
some
what
he's
it
done
looks
some
like,
stuff with the
well,
schools there.
I know he's done stuff with the schools, but I'm talking about more so in the community, because
Mhm.
what we're seeing happening to Oakland right now. If he was somebody that came in to really use his focus from a political standpoint to really come in and demand that certain things change, like around the businesses, the way that some of the businesses look around the city, housing, that's a major issue. Like contributing to
Yeah.
something like that. Like if he was to do something like that, then by all means, I might sign up to be his communications director, just because that's where you can use your influence immediately to really, really show people, okay, I do care about the people. I do want to contribute politically to this. And I do want to continue my legacy based off of some of the things that I've already done. Because yes, you're right. He has consistently showed up for those schools. He has consistently done things in various areas of the community. But if he was to like flip the coin and really come over here, if you're going to do it. In other words, is what I'm saying. And I need him to really do it in a place like Oakland, where they really, really need him. Somebody like him to really be the face of something and to really lead them into whatever is next for the city.
Well, Dawn, I know you gotta hightail it out, but you gotta say bye to Power 96 personally before you leave.
Goodbye, darling. And to everyone else, because I don't want other people to be on here and be like, well, she didn't say goodbye to me.
The one and only, the break of dawn, Dawn Montgomery. Thanks for joining us this morning
Thanks,
on Talk Sport.
Stacey. I appreciate you and Greer. Thanks.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
So New York City firefighters again are doing what New York City firefighters do. A union representing the fighters there is raising concerns about possibly disciplinary action against its members after State Attorney General Tish James was booed and a pro-Trump chant broke out during the fire department's ceremony. The Democrat, whose office wanted $355 million judgment against
Attorney
the twice
General
impeached
Letitia
former
James.
president. There's the situation.
Oh, come on. We're in a house of God. First, simmer down. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for getting it out of your system. I want to thank Commissioner Kavanaugh
And look how she handled
for
that.
that
Look how we
recognition.
talked to.
And today we are making history, swearing in our first African-American woman chaplain of FDNY.
I love.
Yeah, and an internal note shared widely on social media. Fire officials in New York called the conduct grossly inappropriate and disrespectful to fellow firefighters and their supporters attending the special occasion. Department members have a right to express their political beliefs, the note stressed, just not on the job. The department ceremony wasn't a political event either. And Tish James wasn't there to give a political speech, but to support Pamela Holmes as she was sworn in as the department's first Black female chaplain. We've talked and talked. It is shameful, Angela Connolly, but we've talked about this in the past. The New York City Fire Department has continually, repeatedly over the years shown its racism, and this was no different. This was absolutely no different, and a black eye to the fire department, regardless. It is. It is, and they know it's a black eye because the chiefs and others, the higher ups there, are urging those who took part in the chance to come forward and speak with investigators who are reviewing the video. In other words, they're saying, "Look, don't make us have to go through all of the video because if we do, the punishment is going to be even greater. So just come on forward, step up and take your punishment." And that's the bottom line. It was so disrespectful, particularly given the circumstances. So disrespectful. And Tish James, again, the way she handled the twice impeached, 4 times indicted former president in court was the way she handled those firefighters with nothing but style and grace. And as David Youngblood said, FDNY and NYPD have always been strongly anti-black. And we know that. Yep. And Power 96 says, typical MAGA-billy people, no home training. And it's true. Well, folks, we can't leave you this morning without some inspiring news. A security guard recently got the surprise of a lifetime when university students in Rhode Island raised thousands of dollars so he could see his family back in Nigeria. Providence College students' online effort raised nearly $3,000 within 24 hours. So their favorite person, James, could take a trip home to Nigeria, where his family, including his son, is. Um, in a post, they said, "You told us a while ago." This is the students. "You told us a while ago that you wanted to see your family in Nigeria that you haven't seen in a long time. So we came together and spread the word, and we started a GoFundMe because we take care of our own, because that's what we do at Providence College." That was Daniel Singh leading the student body who took on this, and he says they've done that for me, we've done that for each other, so now we're doing it for you. You're of the family, so our gift to you is a trip to Nigeria. Singh is a first-year student. Um, S- uh, I'm sorry, Singh and first-year student Brandon Reichert, who helped organize the GoFundMe, said raising funds for James was a no-brainer after they learned he hadn't seen his family in 11 years. The GoFundMe describes him as the best security guard at Providence and one of the nicest people you will ever meet. And they shared that he works 4 overnight shifts weekly and does so with a smile. He does not know how much we appreciate him and hope that this shows to him how much he means to the community, is what is written on that GoFundMe page, which adds that Providence College and Raymond Hall experience and the Raymond Hall experience would be utterly different without James's presence. And as of yesterday afternoon, although it had a goal of $3,500, the GoFundMe has raised over $27,000 for James. The grateful students are now on a mission to raise as much money as possible so that their beloved security guard doesn't have to wait nearly a decade to go back and visit his family. They said he's just the kindest soul anyone has ever met in this building. He means so much to us. He is so important. It was amazing how fast everyone connected and were able to put it together for him. It is such an inspiring thing that they did. Um, we had to lift that up this morning. Great job over in Rhode Island at Providence College. That was really cool, and I'm sure that man James and his family will always be grateful and will always remember the kindest of gestures. See, the world can be a decent place. I can hear a song in my head. But anyway, uh, we very nice for James, exactly. Again, we encourage you guys to go to our YouTube page and hit subscribe. I say it every day, and hopefully you're listening. tell your family, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your uncles and aunts and everyone else to subscribe to Let It Be Known News on YouTube. We'll bring you some more of this inspiring news again tomorrow. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then.